Hi, I'm Anthony Salvatore Luciano Raimondi, and I'm chatting with Staxx. If you don't like it, start your own podcast. If you like it, press the like button. If not, hey, there's a million and one other podcasts you can look at. There's no big deal.
Welcome to this episode of Chatting with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today I got Anthony Luciano Raimondi.
Now, it's just their word against that person's word. So that's why a lot of them had like wires. They were wired up, or they had wires in their cars, or whatever it is, so that they could walk away because they knew that they were getting hit with heavy, heavy, heavy time and that they were never going to come out. So instead of that, they decided to turn around and say, you know what? Give everybody up. And that's what they did.
Do you think back in your day it was kind of like the heyday? It was wide open. You could do basically anything you wanted.
Let me tell you, back in the 70s and in the 80s, in the 70s and up until about, I would say maybe 1983 to 84, that was what I would call the best years that you made money hand over fist. Hand over. You opened up a gambling parlor, you made money. You had after-hour clubs, you made money. You had bookmaking all over the place, Shylock business, everything. After everybody started getting pinched in 1984, a lot of the bosses and everybody.
The commission, Rusty Westelli, right? The commission.
Mm-hmm. But a lot of guys, when they got pinched in 1984, and these will talk about bosses, underbosses, and so on and so forth. These guys got 100 years plus life. I mean, come on, let's be serious. 100 years plus life? I mean, who the fuck you kidding? These guys are already in their 50s and 60s. If you just gave them 100 years, they got to do a minimum of at least 30 years and better before they can come out. But then you have all these new guys who they brought in, because either they're friends of somebody, or the sister's going out with somebody, or the mother, the aunt, or they're going out with somebody's daughter, and that screwed everything up.
Did you ever have any dealings with Tony Ducks Corallo or Salerno?
No, I knew them because my friend Tano Beldeo was very close with them. And I used to go up to the 19th hole, and I used to see them over there because I was close with Christy Funari. I was good friends with him. And Tony Corolla, I used to see him. And Fat Tony, I used to see him also.
How was Christy Tick as a person?
Great guy. Let me tell you. Great guy. Fair, tough, but fair.
You got any stories about him?
Well, there was a thing that when he gave me 50% of the After Hour Club of Desiree, what had happened, there was a problem in Desiree, and I was there, and it was another wise guy's son and a wise guy's nephew that was in it. It's in the book. The wise guy's son, he was the underboss of the family. He went and told his father this whole elaborate story of how these guys were going to do this, that, the other thing. They were going to kill them, so on and so forth. And they were with Christy Tick. So with that, they sent a message to Christy. They wanted to have a sit down. And Christy was talking with them. And I was there. My cousin Mac was there. Now, the way it came down, it was that these two guys, they passed judgment on them, and Christy gave the okay to take them out. Now, I was sitting there at the time. I was sitting there because they says, Anthony, you were in the club that night. I said, yeah. So I listened to all of them talk, and I told them, wait a minute. I said, this is not the way it happened. So this is what you're talking about. I said, this is what happened. This, and this. I was there. I'm the one who broke up what was going on. So the underboss at the time called his son down and his nephew. Now, I was in the Diplomat, and I was behind the bar getting myself a drink. They came walking in, and they looked at me, and you could see they knew right away something was wrong. So they sat down. And they turned around and told the underboss's son and his nephew. It was Vincent and his cousin Tony. Let's put it that way. I'm not going to give their last names And he says, now tell us what happened in the Desiree Club last night. So I turned around, I chimed in, and I said, yeah, Vince, tell us what happened in the Desiree Club last night. And he looked at me and he goes to his father and his uncles and them. He says, well, I was drunk. I'm a little hazy. I really don't remember what happened, and so on and so forth. Which what it was that him and his idiot cousin were there, and there was a guy from Christie's family, two guys there. I guess they went to talk to somebody, and him and his cousin walked over to the ladies that they were with, which was their wives to be exact. And one kid's cousin said, "Oh, I'll give you 100 blowjobs if you $100 if you suck my dick." And Vincent, "I'll give you $100. Let me fuck you in the ass." And this is going back and forth. When these two guys came back, they said, "What the fuck is going on over here?" And Vincent tried to hit the guy in the head with a bottle, and that's when the fight broke out. And then I got in, and I broke it up. So now it's a different story altogether. There's no they didn't pass judgment on the guys no more. They squashed it right then and there. So Christie told me, he says, Anthony, he says, well, he called me Pluto at the time. He says, Pluto, meet me at Desiree's tonight. He says about 10:30, 11 o'clock. I said, well, I didn't question him. I didn't ask him why. I got down there and I seen Josie. He goes, what are you doing? I said, all right, blah, 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 talking. I said, did Christie get here? Yeah. He says, no. He says, he told me to be here also. He goes, usually I get there later on because the other people working in the club. Maybe about 10 minutes later, Christie comes walking in, sees Josie, and he sees me. He says, I'm going to tell you. He goes, I'm going to tell you. He goes, Joe, Pluto is your partner. You both got the club now 50-50. I looked at Christie. I says, Christie, you got to be kidding me. I says, Christie, he goes, listen to me carefully. He says, what you done today, he goes, you saved two guys that I like very much and that they're going to, they're wise guys and he likes them very much. They were like sons to him. So I had straightened it out and Christie gave me like the other half of Desiree. But every time I went to bring him an envelope, he wouldn't take an envelope. No, he wouldn't take it. So what I done, around the holidays, birthdays, I would buy a piece of jewelry. Whether if it was for his wife, his gumado, or whatever, I would say, I can't. I said, you got to take it. You got to give it to him. You can't turn the gift down. So he would laugh and he would say, okay. He said, but don't bring me no money. He says, I don't want no money from you. And I knew Christie very well. I knew him pretty good. I could walk into the, I used to be able to walk in to the 19th hole. And, I would go by the bar. Christie would be there talking with whoever he was done talking with. Once he got done, he would come over to me. He goes, come on. And we used to sit down in the booth and we used to talk. And then next door to the Chinese restaurant, that was when Tony used to have his meetings next door. And my friend Tato Beldeo was with him. And if they told me I was next door, I used to walk in. And I just used to let Tato know I was there. And Tony would say, where you going? I said, I'm going, you got your meeting. I'm going out. So he goes, you know what? You want something to eat? Go sit over there. You can have something to eat. So, yeah, what the fuck? Why not? I used to sit over there, have something to eat. And then guys I knew would come over to me. And we would talk. And then me and Tato would, after they got done with their meeting, then me and Tato would sit down and we would talk, discuss whatever we had to discuss. But that's the way everything ran. It ran smooth as anything. I got to tell you the truth. Years ago, it ran smooth. It wasn't like this now. Like they had a guy. It was a guy named. Well, let's just put it this way. There was a guy that they made. All right, he's still around. That he was friends with somebody's nephew, so they made him. Okay, right away they made him. Okay. The guy went out and did a piece of work with a bunch of other people, which, okay, fine. They took about 9 guys with them to go do what they had to do. This same guy who was supposed to be so loyal and so hard and so tough got arrested and he gave everybody up. Including the guy who had him straightened out and the guy he was with. He gave everybody up. He didn't leave no stone, no name unturned. Gave up everybody. I mean, so this is what you're going to do. This is what happened in the 80s. It started happening there. It started happening like in going into 83, 84, like that. but the guy started giving up people.
How did you get the name
I'll tell you
Pluto?
something. I'll tell you something. All joking aside, I have very good lawyers. And I remember Gus Newman told me, he says, let me tell you something. And Frank Lopez told me, Louis Rosenthal told me this. I even had, what was his name, that chubby lawyer? I can't remember his name right now. It's a heavyset lawyer. And I remember Abraham Gritz told me, and they all told me this, says, let me tell you something. In every family, no matter how many crews you got, there's always at least one guy in every crew that's talking to the law. And I believe him. I believe it because I seen what happened. Guys are getting pinched that only say a handful knew what was going on. So how the hell did he get pinched? And certain other guys didn't. Oh, Joel Winograd. That's who the other guy was, Joel Winograd. And he had said the same thing. He goes, every family. He goes, you could have 10 crews, you could have 30 crews. There's at least one guy in every crew that's talking to the law, whether he's talking to the cops, whether he's talking to the feds or whoever, but they're talking. And they're letting them know about things that's going on and everything. And that's how guys are getting pinched.
You look at today, people look up to Sammy Gravano.
Well, you got to look at it this way. Let's be serious now. Sammy Gravano turned out to be a rat. But I'm going to explain something to you the way I see it. All right, let me put it this way. You're the boss of the family. Okay. So now you go to prison. Now I'm the boss. I become the boss. And you say, I want you to get this guy, get his family and everything. I say, okay, we're working on it. Now I sit down with all my guys and I say, listen, Staxx wants us to get this guy. Just keep telling him we can't find him. He's in there doing 100 years and better. None of us want to wind up in there next to him and do the 100 years. So they let him go. So Sammy Gravano could have walked anywhere he wanted. Now, in Sammy's case, when he got pinched, he got pinched for a lot of things that he was blaming John for. But he ratted on everybody, and that's how he skated. And then he got arrested, I think. I don't know how many years later he got arrested. I think he did 5 years or something. And they're still selling. They were selling, I think, ecstasy or something like that.
Yeah, out in Arizona, yeah.
Right. But he got out again. Now.
No, but he did 20. He did 20 years for the ecstasy.
No, I don't think he did 20 years.
20 years he did. Yes, he did.
I mean, you might be right, but it's not what I heard. I heard he got 5 years. He did 5 years.
No, he got 5 years for the murders and all that. He gets out. He goes to Arizona. He starts selling ecstasy with his family. Gets caught. Goes to prison. I think he did 17. Maybe it was 17 years. Got out in what, 2019 or
the only thing I know about is the 5 years that he done. But then again, you got to look at it this way. If somebody was to say, take him out, okay, and they took him out, sooner or later, the guy who took him out or the guy who gave the order or whatever might get arrested. And if he does, you know what's going to happen. He's going to give everybody up anyway.